What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shego. And guys, it's great to be back here. It's great to have you with us. And so today we want to discuss another topic, very, very important topic in the Manchester United decision or race for a new midfielder. And so we've classified these two midfielders we want to discuss as what, based on the media reports, as what United has classified themselves as. They've classified them as opportunity buys, right? And the two midfielders we want to analyze today: number one, Ederson of Atalanta, and we want to also talk about Mateus Fernandes of West Ham. So Manchester United has identified these two players as opportunity. For Ederson, the price range, and also we've had reports about that among the boardroom there are certain people that favor him, especially Jason Wilcox. And on the second hand, Mateus Fernandes, there be reports about the fact that West Ham might get relegated, and if that situation happens, it's going to be as a lesser fee, and they want to go for him. So, guys, let's jump right into it. So, the opportunity buys. Let's jump right to it. So, first and foremost, I think I have to just say this. I don't like reports where we begin to hear things like Jesse Wilcox favors or Jesse Wilcox likes a player, right? I'm very, very skeptical about such reports, right? I want to be hearing what I want to be hearing at United with the new structure that we have in place is that, the recruited team has identified Ederson as a very, very good option. I don't want to be hearing somebody like somebody. That's why I want to buy the person. I think it's a very dangerous thing because I think that's what we have done for most parts in the 13 years after Alex Ferguson, right? A lot of the signings we've done, people felt good signing, good name, let's go for him. So people like him. This guy, Ten Hag liking Anthony, right? This person liking this person. I feel we should move away from the era of like, right, and focus more on research, on data, on analysis, right, on scouting. I think it should not be about the like or a favors or all this kind of report. Even though I know, yes, when you still use data and research, you still have to now choose between your options, right, and then you can favor somebody. But I don't want it to just be one person, like in this case, Jason Wilcox saying, I favor Ederson. Right? What about the analysis? What about the data? What about those things? So that's the first point. Second point is that there are certain requirements that United should take into consideration while building the squad, because we are building the squad currently, right? We are building the squad currently. And, last week we did the analysis of the plan of, building our midfield with £150 million. And I give my own opinion about the fact that we should focus more on quality, instead of quantity, right? If you have not watched the episode, please watch the episode. I will attach at the end of this video. So please watch the episode where we talked about, it should be about quality and not quantity, and try to do your analysis and then go for it. I think that's the first requirement in building this squad. Quality, not quantity, and it should be quality that can compete with the current midfielders, in the team. That's number one. Number two is that when building your team, you also need to be very focused on bringing profiles, right? Different profiles to solve different situations in the season, right? Because not every opponent is the same. And so you have to build your team, the makeup of your squad has to be in such a way that, they can match up with the different difficulties, different situations that they will face in this season. So, for example, it would not be wise to, for example, go for two DMs, right? In your setup, it won't be right to go for two DMs, right? Because automatically, if you are buying two midfielders and you go for two DMs, you are already limiting yourself in certain areas and limiting yourself of certain options in the season, right? So that's the number two. In terms of the profiles have to be different. That's the two midfielders in order to offer this United side more arsenal, more more options, right? In order to tackle situations that the opponent will give us throughout the season. Now, third thing we have to consider is the fact that Manchester United midfield currently does not just suffer from defensive work rate alone. I think it's something that we have to remind ourselves. In as much as, yes, defensive work rate is a big part of what we suffer in that midfield, I think it's also very, very important for us to remind ourselves also that this Manchester United midfield also suffers from on-the-ball activities. United midfield currently is as bad defensively as it is as bad on the ball. Right? And I've explained that in the fact that there are certain games where I've watched, even under Michael Carrick, even under Ruben Amorim, where I felt the best way to approach it was to have control of the game and hold the ball, which for most times we did not do. Right? For most times we did not do. Even recently, you could see against Liverpool, there was a moment where the best option would have been to even try and get a little bit of control. We had the momentum, try and get a little bit of control on the ball. But for some reason, we decided to hand over the ball to the opponent. We saw that against Brentford also. Hand over the ball to the opponent and then try to sit back and try to control the game off the ball. And sometimes the control of the game, most times, is better when you have the ball, right? When you, as I said many times, having the ball can both be attacking decision and a defensive decision at the same time. And so you need to also develop on the ball as well as defensively off the ball. So now let's go quickly into these guys. These two guys are guys that have done the analysis before. And so I wouldn't want to be spending much time on analyzing them. I think what I want to just do is just to highlight and remind us what are all the things I said in those previous episodes or the things I've analyzed about them. But if you want to watch the full episode, I will attach the full episode of each of these analysis, these two players at the end of this video. So just go and watch it and, understand in depth what I mean about these players, right? So guys, let's jump right to it. Ederson of Atalanta. I've always felt, when you watch Ederson, you cannot deny the physical attribute of the guy. The work rate, I think I called him a beast in terms of work rate, a warrior in terms of work rate. The guy is a hardworking guy. I think that's something you need in any team. You want a hardworking guy. I think he will be very good for us in defensive transitions. I think he's someone that has that work rate, someone that has that willingness to run, that we'll be able to cover. And I think that's why a lot of people are looking at him as a very good defensive midfield option in terms of that work rate, that intensity. Physicality, really. I don't think he will struggle in the physical side of the Premier League because he's there, he's intense, he's physical. But I think there are concerns on the ball. I think the technical level of Ederson, in my own opinion, let me put it clearly, in my own opinion, I don't think it is up to the level of a player that we're playing for Manchester United, the technical level of him. I think when I watch him, I don't necessarily see that he brings balance. I see, and this is one of the things that people might disagree with, but when I watch him, and I've watched him a lot, I've done analysis on him a lot, I do not necessarily see the guy as someone that brings balance to a team. I think, for example, his weight of touch is sometimes very, very poor. His weight of touch is sometimes very, very poor. The ball gets, because of his poor weight of touch, I'm not talking about weight of pass now, I'm talking about weight of touch. I believe sometimes the ball gets away from him easily. And because he wants to now recover possession, I think he makes a lot of unnecessary fouls in those situations, right? And so that is always a big concern for me. Defensively, I see what people are looking at, but on the ball, and that's why I said our midfield is not just about off the ball, it's also about on the ball, right? So on the ball, I have my concerns about his rate of touch. Then let me go ball carrying ability. I think it's also a part of that. I think I've explained before in previous episode, I think I even did it during I was doing this analysis, that there are midfielders that there are two ways predominantly to progress the ball, carry the ball. I think there are some people that do it in terms of moving the ball and running through, and there's some people that actually progress the game by passing, right? And I think he belongs to the school of people that can carry the ball and push forward, right? Can carry the ball and move forward. But I think there's a different way he does it that I'm also very skeptical about, is the fact that he always likes to push the ball a little bit forward, right? I like a midfielder that progresses the ball, carries the ball, and the ball is still closely within his range, right? Not pushing the ball forward. And I feel in the Premier League, you cannot have the opportunity, right? So these are the things I've said about it. So for me, I have no argument when it comes to when it comes to going for Ederson, but I have my concerns about his on-the-ball activities. Defensively, off the ball, I think it's good, but I don't want us to get the midfielder that is just good in off the ball. Why can't we get someone that is both good off the ball and is decent on the ball? Because you need that ball playing ability also, right? We've had midfielders in our current squad that on the ball, there are questions, right? On the ball, there are questions, and they're not there. So we need to build way. And I also think, as I said, we need to have the right balance. You can't buy, for example, you can't buy a Tchouaméni and an Ederson as the two midfielders, right? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Yes, defensively, Yeah, it might be an improvement, but the fact it might appear to be an improvement, but the fact is on the ball. They are on the ball and in different facets of the game and in different situations. I think we'll be lacking a lot of things there. Now let's go to the second midfielder quickly. Mateus Fernandes. So Mateus Fernandes, as I've said, everybody knows Mateus Fernandes, his technical ability is clear to see. I even defined him at a point as being silky on the ball. So you can watch the episode. I think it's silky on the ball. I think the way he moves with the ball, I like it. Movement in tight spaces, control in tight spaces. Right, I think really his ability to change direction. I think he has those qualities that are really nice to see. Really nice to see. And I think there's a player there. I think I did the episode and I said there when you watch him, you see that there's a player there. Yes, he's not at the top level, but you can see the trajectory and can look at. It's good if you go for him. It's good if you go for him. Really, I think is a big one for the future. Really, that guy has an amazing future ahead of him if used properly. Now, let me continue. So I think his vertical push, as I've said before, he does it differently. He has the ability to push forward, but he does it with the intention of moving with passes. Not someone to just carry the ball and just be running every time like that. I think it's someone that does it with just moving with passes and moving into space. I think he has that quality really. But I've always said about Mateus Fernandes is the fact that I believe you will get the best out of Mateus Fernandes in a possession-based side. This is my own opinion. I know that yes, when you look at West Ham's game and how they counter-attack sometimes, I think it's always central to that and everything in those transitional moments for West Ham. But for me, I believe that to get the best out of Mateus Fernandes, you want him to be in a possession-based side. And that's the question for me in the sense of what is the style of play of Manchester United in the new season under Michael Carrick? Because I believe Michael Carrick will be given the job. So how do you want to approach the game? And then we should now look at Mateus Fernandes fitting. I'm not saying he will not do transition. He can do that. He has done that on West Ham at certain points, But I feel to get the supreme best out of that guy, I really believe he's in a possession-based side. I've said it many times. When the guy receives the ball, there is this life in him. Right? You can see as he receives the ball, you can see the body language. There's this life in him. He wants to have the ball. He wants to do things with the ball. And I think such a player, when you look at it, is possession-based side. And lastly, defensive contribution, I've said it here that defensive contribution is not a beast like the likes of Ederson. It's not a defensive beast like the likes of Ederson, but the guy is not afraid to put his leg in. He's not afraid to do the dirty job. He's not afraid to do those things. And I feel that that's always a good thing, really. And I feel he offers, for example, if you're getting Mateus Fernandes, as I've said, in different phases of the game, he can operate. So just watch the full episode on Mateus Fernandes. I just gave a brief rundown. But I feel that when we look at the context of what we are discussing in terms of he offers a lot of different options than what we have currently, in terms of you can use him in certain areas, right? You can use him in certain areas, not necessarily this is quality. I think it's a multi-functional player. It has also ability to play in different zones, right? Defensively, middle, and even attacking. And I think it's something that offers maybe different options to the manager, right? But ultimately, we have to analyze the fact that we need quality over quantity. I think that's very, very important. But Fernandes, I believe these guys are quality. It's just that I just give my own opinions on their positive sides and sides that, they need to see what goes. So guys, let me have your opinion on this discussion. Mateus Fernandes, Ederson of Atalanta. Let's have that discussion. What do you think about this opportunity bias? Do you think it's something to put our head in? Do you think they have the necessary quality to play for Manchester United? Let's have that discussion in the comment section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share. Until I see you next time. Bye.